Dzień dobry Państwa. Ile Polacy są w pokoju? No, następnym roku cały pokój będzie Polacy, tak? No, dzień dobry. For those of you who don't know, I'm Polish and I'm very, very flattered and happy to be here. It's been my dream to marry much of my life's work around technology, politics, and government with my parents' life's work, which was raising me. My parents are both Polish and were born in Poland and survived the war and emigrated to the United States, and so they're very curious about why I'm here. They don't quite understand what open government data means. I try to explain it. And before I get to my presentation, I just want to just check because I use this line often when I speak, and I'm just curious how many people still agree with me. Most politicians still don't know the difference between a server and a waiter. Seriously, I just want to just ask, you know, how many people think that 25% of politicians today elected in the world in general don't know what a server is? More. Right. So we're swimming upstream. We've got to change that. And that means not only educating those that currently exist, but getting the ones that currently exist and don't understand by this point what a server is out of office, and getting people who do into office. It has to be one of the things that we fight for. But the other thing I wanted to, so this is who I am. I run the Personal Democracy Forum in New York along with my partner Mika Sifri. It's in its 8th year. It's a bipartisan event. We also have been doing satellite events around the world in Barcelona, in Oslo, in Santiago, Chile. And the next one, for those of you who are inclined to come to New York, anybody who's here who'd like to come, we'll arrange a free registration for you. You can get yourself to New York. It's going to be June 11th and 12th next year, and it's about 800 people. A lot of the same topics are going to be discussed here, but also in the context of the political environment in the United States and in the nonprofit sector, and also around the world. So, here we go. So, first thing is, if you ever hear anybody say Gov 2.0 or the word e-government, try to disabuse them of that and use the term we government or we.gov. If we take government data and make it available in open formats the way we're trying to do through the work that everyone's doing here, and you match that data up with the data that people are collecting themselves, they're just walking the planet, we don't have an e-government, we're going to have a we government. And it's important that people understand the difference, because e-government tends to be viewed by political leaders and government officials as them delivering the services that we expect them to deliver using the technologies that we use every day. But the entire ecosystem is changing and we need to move to a new frame. And so I'm proposing that, or suggesting to you that you think about the term we government instead of e-government. Now, what's most amazing to me about this gathering is the size of this community. And really, we really need to congratulate ourselves, and most importantly, Jonathan and Rufus for putting this together, because this is a community. It is large, it is growing, and it's going to continue to have impact. But I have kind of a message for you related to this, because having been around watching the technology and politics community grow in the United States, I started thinking a little bit about the future of this community. So all great social movements have manifestos once they get established. In fact, we were talking a little earlier with Dave Eves about Occupy Wall Street, and one of the problems for them is that they don't actually have yet a manifesto. And maybe they'll form one, but it's going to take some time before they do. But we've been around a little bit. So this is the Declaration of Human Rights from the French Revolution. Of course, this famous one everyone will recognize, Declaration of Independence of the United States. And I'm just curious if anybody recognizes this one. Marx, the Communist Manifesto. So it's time for this community to have a manifesto that you can point to. A single sheet document that you can hand to an elected leader, a government official, that makes very, very clear what we mean by open data. And in 2007, in December, about 30 open government advocates got together in Washington, D.C. Some of them are in this room. Many of the names that were there are people you'll recognize. And they got together and they put together some principles of open data, open government data. And so I'm going to go quickly through them just to give you a sense of what they came up with. So, complete, all public data is made available. Public data is data that's not subject to privacy, security, or privilege limitations. It's primary, data is collected at the source with the highest possible level of granularity, non-aggregated or modified forms. It's timely, it's made available as quickly as necessary to preserve the value of the data. It's accessible, it's available to the widest range of users for the widest range of purposes. It's machine processable, I guess today we would say machine readable. Data is reasonably structured to allow automatic processing. Non-discriminatory, available to anyone with no requirement of registration. It's non-proprietary data is available in a format over which no entity has exclusive control, and it's license-free. No copyrights, patents, trademarks, or trade secrets. Reasonable privacy and security restrictions may be allowed. By the way, that one, the privacy and security, is one that needs to be focused on because that's the one that most government officials misunderstand the most. So these are, I would say this is a great start, but there's the makings in this community of a committee or some open process by which those of us here and those of us in our community who could not be here could work together to create a manifesto that clearly defines the goals and the roles of this community, not only in your individual countries or your individual cities, but around the world. So that's my first suggestion. The second one is let's measure success. We need to come up with metrics to understand when we're making progress and when we're not. And we have to understand when we're failing and when we're winning. And we don't have the tools quite yet designed that we can all use to measure what is success in relation to the manifesto that I just suggested that we try to put together. And we need to start to rate success. When a government like New York City releases 170 data sets and pats itself on the back because they have something called big ass, and they think they're participating in the open government data movement, we should give them a nice polite applause. But after 3 years, only releasing a couple hundred data sets per year, they should get probably a poor rating. We need to identify them and specifically call them out. We have to give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And we should try to create something like this one from Freedom House, which is a global map that chronicles the exact success and failure of freedom of speech and freedom of information laws around the world. We should emulate this and come up with a way for us to be able to have a global picture of our community's growth and success around the world. And lastly, we should reward excellence. We should figure out a way to highlight and validate the work of our peers. Those of us in our community who are doing great work should be raised up and exposed in a way that validates them and helps people understand why their work was important and gives them the encouragement necessary to continue their work and to grow the community. So, here's my main message. Produce a manifesto, measure our progress, rate governments, and reward excellence. If you want to reach me, that's me. I'll be here for the rest of the day. It's a pleasure to be here. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you next year. Thank you very much.